maybe we can, I was gonna try to get Alan out of here very quickly. Uh, maybe we do a little tiny bit while waiting for Bill and then get Alan out of here with a quick question. Uh, if we look at our minutes, how are we with minutes for the 25th of September, please?
Yeah, I'm fine with what I read.
Okay, Colleen, I am too, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is Colleen's time sheet, which is 70 hours for the last 2 weeks. Lee, are you okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is money turnover to the treasurer from the Board of Health. And it's, the reason I'm looking at it, it's a funny kind of number. It's $892.24 for this 2 week period, and that's 440 from Board of Health permits, 310 from Board of Health licenses, $142.24 for Board of Health fees. That's a funny number, Colleen. Do you know how that happened?
Yes, I can explain that. If you look through the checks, you'll see there's a bunch of checks with my name on it from the jury duty.
Oh, okay.
And so that is why it ended up the odd number, because it was, an odd number. So,
Okay,
and
thanks.
Chris told me to put it in that account, so.
Okay. Lee, are you okay with that? The total is $892.24.
Yes, yep.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is bills payable. We've got the plumbing inspections and plumbing mileage, $422 for Fred Marion for plumbing inspection, and $20.40 for mileage for Fred. And it looks like, and he's itemized his items. It's from you know what, Colleen?
What?
He's got a problem with one of these.
Oh,
He's got his first inspection is June 26th,
oh,
2024.
yeah, that's,
We can't
yeah, that's in last fiscal year.
we can't do that. And
No,
we didn't encumber anything. So we can't pay them.
okay. Is it, yeah, he just, let's see, yeah, I've got it here somewhere. All right, I didn't pick up on that, when I was doing, yeah, the date, okay, just the first one, okay. So,
So you'll have to let him know that, so you'll have to make an adjustment and deduct out the mileage plus the 2 inspections.
yeah,
So it ends up, you know what? Why don't you talk to Lee? My thought is what we don't do is we don't act on this one rather than change his bill around and have Colleen talk to Fred and get it straightened out and rebuild this.
yeah, okay. I'll
What do
talk
you
to
think?
Fred.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. We should
Okay,
try to be fair.
Colleen, so we won't do that, and then because you could end up with some kind of thing that he comes back and says, that actually was the wrong date. I copied it wrong, and now we end up approving the wrong thing. So why don't we? So we agreed, Colleen. That's what
Okay, yep,
we'll do.
okay. Mm-hmm.
We're now moving into our other items. So we're gonna go back and deal with Alan. Alan has got a question, Lee. You're probably the right guy at least part of it. It'd be better if Bill was here, but this is on the Union Mart building. And the question comes up at the result of your inspection today, Lee.
Yes.
that Alan
Yep.
tells me that he's recommending that the SAS needs to be redone. And rather than try to fix it, we said we were going to look and see if there was roots in there. And Alan just told me, he said, I just can't see a way to fix this without wrecking the SAS. It needs to be done. So that part, Alan was fine with. His question came out and on this one, we've got a tank, a septic tank that's been converted temporarily as a pipe tank, plus the pump chamber that's going to end up having 2 pumps in it instead of 1. But Alan was going to continue to use the pump chamber. And the question that Alan had for me, or I had for him today, was that the code actually says that other than a single family or a 2-family house, that you end up having to have a 2-chamber septic tank. And the issue that Alan had and asked me, he said, here you've got two tanks that are from you guys in good condition. We've got and they're next to each other, and they're powder weighted. They've got ballast on them, so it's a really reasonably big deal to take them out and replace them. And that this one is a 1,500-gallon tank without septic tank with an outlet filter, but it's a single chamber tank. And what Alan has asked of us is, are we going to just say, gee, the time to have caught this, at least this one, would have been maybe back when Bob Sheehan put the repair in. But on top of that we can look and say the reason we went with the 2 pumps is because we've got history saying that the owner didn't maintain that right, and that it was reasonably straightforward to put the second pump in and the second control. But Alan's looking and saying, this is now a really low flow system. It's got that 1 dwelling unit with, I think maybe it's 1 bedroom, but it's a limited occupancy dwelling unit, and a store that's going to have a minimal amount of usage. And Alan saying that the gain of switching that to a 2-compartment tank, since this one's already got a filter on top of it, it is minimal, and it's a really big deal to change it. We're probably going to, by the time you pull the tank out and the ballast out, you're probably going to wreck the pump chamber as well. And Alan's recommendation with me is it doesn't make sense in this case to rip that tank out. And what is your thought, Lee? The tank that I'm talking about is the septic tank.
Yep. Well, yeah, I mean, the tank integrity is surprisingly good. I suppose, in part to the fact that it's in the sandy area, even though there's a high water table.
Probably,
but anyway,
probably flooded, Lee, so there was no air-water interface.
Good point. Yeah, so it was stabilized in that environment. But yeah, the destroying that and taking it out, I don't see the gain here. Everything else is been or is in the process of being brought up. think we would be, in no harm, no foul, leaving things as is.
I
And
agree
that-
with that. Colleen, so that's what we're doing. We're gonna allow Alan to reuse the existing 1,500 gallon tank.
Okay,
Can I speak at this point?
Sure.
Okay, so you will be seeing from me a plan for a new SAS there based on the data we collected today using the components that you just mentioned.
Okay,
Understand?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Alan.
Good night.
good night, Alan.
Alan.
Thanks.
Okay, then, as long as Phil isn't here, Lee, let's go and get the other two out of the way as well.
Sure.
The one is Neil Jackson. This is Lot O, Phillips Circle. Lee, that if that's the new house that's going to be it's actually going to be a two dwelling house, is at the very end of Phillips Circle, and I think it's one of George Galusha's lots, way in the back. It's a big lot. It's a what is it, a 6.5 acre lot, and it's a big house that's going in there. In fact, we ruled that when the ZBA was asking, should this be allowed, and we just said the septic system needs to be sized for it. And what it is there are 2 kitchens and 4 total bedrooms. And what Neil is asking is that we move it from a straight trench design to an Elgin D43 module design. So this is not a request for a complete new system change. It's just Neil saying, I'd like to keep the existing, it's got 2 septic systems, 2 septic tanks, 15,000 gallon tank, a pump chamber, and then now he's putting in level trenches. There are 4 level trenches will line each. There are 4, I'm just saying, it doesn't say this right here, I didn't write it down, but there are 4 trenches. And they're 16 units each. It's got the C33 stand under it, it's vented, they're still required. It's still 675 gallons provided versus 660 required. The reserve area is also in between these Elgin trenches and adjacent to the last one. He's kept it's a till with a 24-inch water table. He's kept the 4-foot water table separation. The ballast was required for the tanks and the pump chamber. So everything else is the same. He's more than 100 feet from other wells and wetlands. So what Neil is just asking is to allow the SAS design change to the Elgin. And the thing is that the only issue that I had, and I think Neil sent me the wrong second drawing, because the SAS is located so it only pisses when it's like 2 feet or 3 feet onto one of the deep holes. So it has to be moved further to the, I think it's the southeast. So that would be a requirement to make that change. And I think Neil actually
Okay.
made the change, because he sent me a note saying he made the change, and then he gave Colleen the same drawing that he gave her the last time.
Okay, because what I'm looking at, it's the southwest corner of the system is over per call number 2. Per call 1 is in the reserve area.
Yeah, and maybe you have. Let me look and see. Maybe you have the right drawing list. Let me open this.
I didn't give Lee the new one.
Oh, you
He
didn't?
he had the original one.
Yeah, and what I have, Lee, is one of those, and I can't read which one it is, but one of the holes is in like the second trench, just kissing the second trench. And the other hole
Okay.
is off to the side, is on the slope.
Okay, so yours copy already has it moved and mine is
No,
the
it
original.
doesn't. Mine isn't. It's not moved. He needs
Oh, it's
to.
not moved.
No, my suggestion is that we approve the change, but that he's gotta submit a new drawing and we actually don't approve the application until he moves that so it covers those two holes.
Makes sense.
That's my
Absolutely.
suggestion, that we approve the design and just make them submit the modification. It's just the soil's all the same. We just have to move it.
Okay, so, I don't know if it matters or not, but just an observation. On a system like this where there's gonna be, 2 tanks, 2 kitchens, et cetera, and I don't think we can answer the question, maybe Neil can, maybe it doesn't matter. Does the manufacturer recommend when we're doubling up like this, there be some type of a grease trap or something installed somewhere along the line, or does it really not matter?
It doesn't, but it looks like when I read the manufacturer's literature, they just look at it and look at the volume. And in this particular case, it says since we're making it be designed for 6 equivalent bedrooms, their chart says, here's 5 bedrooms. You've used this many. If it's in the trench
Yep.
formation, if you put another bedroom, it's an extra 13, I think it's 13 modules. That's all they say that you have to do.
Okay, I mean, obviously it's not a commercial installation, so they're just run volume only and call it good.
Yeah, and in this case, he's got, in both of the tanks, there are 2 chamber tanks, the double chamber tanks with a filter on both of them. So we've got them pretty protected. The system's pretty protected.
Yep, I got you. Okay,
So,
okay.
Neil, we're just telling you on their
Okay.
system that you look like you're getting ready for a Halloween something. You're all black around you and you look like
Well,
you're in the shadows.
That's because I just went to a conservation meeting in Munson, and I've seen something I've never seen. They refused the whole project because we're too close to some trees that are 90 years old. No. They estimated that they started growing in 1890, so they want everything moved closer to the wetlands so we don't disturb those trees. Can you believe that? It's like, I'm in shock.
Oh,
We're 25 feet away from those trees, but we're within the canopy apparently. So,
okay.
wow.
Okay, what we just said, we were approving your change on lot O, except you've got to move the SAS so it goes on in our deep holes.
So
Over the
that was,
depot.
that was changed and resubmitted.
Right. That's what I told Lee. I said, Colleen gave me a new drawing. I said, Neil said that he changed it, but the drawing that you gave Colleen didn't have the change. I think you gave Colleen a copy of the old drawing. So I've got.
Oh, let me see. Let's see. So it's not. Let me 1 minute.
Well, all you have to do is do it. We're making it.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely one under the trench and one in the reserve on the new plan. I gave her the wrong plan. I don't think I did.
wrong plan. I've got 2 of the same plan.
Oh.
No, I think, because I think I gave you the right one. I know I did because I submitted 4 plans, so I only
Yeah,
have
you
2.
had 4 and I put, yeah.
Oh,
I
you know
put
what might be
one,
happening?
I don't
I
know. I'll have
wonder
to,
if
I'll
Lee
have to
just
look at
said
the
that-
other plans I have in the office, because the only one I gave one to was Dick. So I don't
It's-
think I gave him back the same
As
plan,
long as
but
it's
I'll look.
done, we'll keep going, Neil, as long as it's moved, that's what
It's
our
moved.
requirements were, that it's moved.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely moved because I just looked at it. So,
Yeah, you definitely look like right there, like you're getting ready to put your headset up and go out on the beach and take some
Well,
cabs.
I think I just left an alternate universe. So I'm not, maybe I should have went that path.
Okay.
Okay, well,
So we're
all right.
set.
So we're all set. Okay. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. And everybody have a
Alright.
great evening.
Take care. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. All right. Bye.
The
Bye-bye.
next one, I'm gonna keep track of the time, we're 10/7/22. Colleen, you're, okay, we're still okay. Next one, Lee, is another change. This one is from Bob Steen, and it's on Lot 5B Chicopee Street. This is an approved system also. And Lee, months ago, the owner asked us on this one because he was having trouble with building the materials and funding, and we extended this, the permit, the application and permit until
I remember that.
February 2nd, 2025. And we said, this is the extension, so it's it. So in the meantime, Bob Sheehan gave me a call and said, gee, the owner wants, the house is moved, it's changed, and the elevations have changed, the septic system, the tank is changed, the piping is changed. And once he comes in from the direction that he wants to come in right now, the SAS doesn't change except it mirror images. It flips around. So elevations and everything stay the same. So this is a change of the layout, and this is not a request for a new permit. This still keeps the February 2nd completion date. And this is a change of layout of the house, the septic tank, the piping, and a mirrored imaging of the SAS. And this is wooded, it's a big lot, it's more than 11 acres. There's a slope going from the front to the back, and up in the back where the SAS is going is level. Deep stands, we didn't find any water table. We got down deeper than 10 feet on all the holes. The issues that we're dealing with is the house relocation, and also that we've got the closing date of the permit. We're now 5 months away or thereabouts from the end of the permit life. The design is the same as it was. It's got a 1,500 gallon 2-compartment tank, got 3 45-foot trenches with 24-inch effective depth, which is reserved between the trenches and adjacent. No fills required, nothing fancy. Greater than 5-foot water table separation. Everything's more than 100 feet from wells or wetlands. The trench permit is required. This one, Bob's got to put a couple other dimensions on there. He's got only 2 ties to the SAS, so you can rotate it and it could end up in the wrong place. So he needs a third tie to that, so it can't move. And then he doesn't have any ties to the septic tank. So that he needs to make those additions. But other than that, I didn't see any problems, Lee, with it.
Okay, I got you. So just take what we have, same location, minor modifications, but nothing to change or be concerned about or anything else prior to
No.
final phase of construction. And this is good through, you said February?
Yeah, February 2nd. So it's the good thing is when I talked to Bob about this, in the event that there's a problem and he doesn't get it in, we are in a spot that we'd have to do is get in there and redo the perks in March and April, and then he could end up with another 3-year permit.
Right. Okay. Should be no
Hello,
issue.
hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello there.
Just for a note that, I have, put the additional ties on the plan, and, they will be at the, Board of Health Dropbox tomorrow afternoon.
Fine. That's fine. So we approved the subject to that, Bob, so you're all set anyway.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for your time, folks.
Okay, good night,
Have a
Bob.
good evening. Good night.
Thank you.
I'm guessing, Lee, that we're not gonna have Bill tonight,
That doesn't sound like at this point in time.
so that we're getting to the, well, we can skip the installer permits right now. Well, we could go, one of them, we've got Don Hess at Dual Construction as a renewal. Our, now that, Colleen, all three of these are for 2024, not 2025 though, huh?
I believe so. I think they're working on, or want to work on systems. Well, I don't know. We'll have to ask this Robert Adair if that's for next year or this year, but the other two, I
Yeah,
thought,
all three of yours are dated October 9th, 2024, so,
yeah, that's what I was under the impression, that they wanted them so they could do jobs this year.
okay.
So,
So-
just a quick comment, and maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. I had a message from a neighbor on Forge Pond, Road regarding that property on that island. I think it's 51. Anyway,
Okay,
there's a foundation in the ground, and there is a new septic tank installed, going to some type of a miniature pump chamber, and there is a, I don't know, maybe a 20 by 50 foot dig out for, I think it's supposed to be a BioClear system. So I don't know who's doing the work, and I don't know if one of these three people are jumping the gun here. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any
I
sense.
think, excuse me, Lee, I think the fellow Lorenzo,
Yeah,
I believe he was the one that mentioned Forge Pond to me. That he would, yeah. I believe he's the one doing that, but he should be on, at 7:45, so.
okay.
so, so that, at least this is not the Hess renewal. So are we okay with the Hess renewal?
Oh, yeah,
Lee?
yeah,
Okay,
yes.
Colleen, I'm
Okay.
okay with that too.
Okay,
The next one is the COC for, well, that's Dairy Mart for the temporary tight tank. Are we all set for that one, Lee?
Yes, well, I know that Josh Kugler did the plumbing on that, and I'm guessing that there has been some type of electrical permit and work done to ensure that the alarm is functioning.
yeah, the electrical inspector said he was there and it was all set.
Okay, all right.
So
Thank
we're
you.
okay with that one then. So, and that's only gonna be a really short time anyway, because
Yeah.
Alan's gonna work on
Right.
it. Okay?
Right.
The next one that we have is the temporary food license for Church Christ Chicken Pie Dinner, 10/19. That's interesting that they're usually really good at giving us the 1 month notice.
Yeah, I think
Without
she wrote a note on the end of it. I think she, slipped up and didn't realize she didn't get it in time.
My suggestion is, Lee, that we grant the permit, but Colleen, let them know, get in touch with them saying, hey, don't do this again, but you're supposed to give us
Yep.
and give this is this one of the ones that Lynn has to inspect, or she doesn't inspect these?
Yeah, I usually do give them to her. Do you want
Okay.
her to inspect them?
Well, if that's what you usually do, I
Yeah,
think we do. Lee, is
Yep.
that correct?
I think that's the norm, yes.
Okay. So Lee, you're
Lynn will
okay
remember.
with this one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The next one is, here's the tobacco permit for Dollar General. That's an interesting one. That's the one now this says it's gonna expire at the end of the year. But this is the one, Lee, that we said maybe we weren't gonna give this if they don't work on that flood system.
That's
Do
correct.
we want to, on this one, only give it to let's see, April 1st?
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone that long, but I can live with that.
Okay,
Fine.
Colleen, that's what I'm doing to it. So we wouldn't, when it comes time to extend this, as long as we're moving forward, we wouldn't make them pay lease. If you thought that the permit is good for a year
Yeah.
normally, so we take the $300 and we issue this for 6 months. And then if we extend it, we don't ask them for another $300.
Okay.
Is that the
So,
way you look at it?
Yes. However, unless it's already gonna be done and I just missed it, are we going to, not we, but Colleen, going to, CC a note or a piece of letterhead stating that, the extension of the license in April depends upon the,
Progress
communication
and
and
rectifying
progress. Yeah,
the drainage system.
right, because as you know, when you mentioned holding back the permit, it got their attention,
Right.
and we haven't got a lot of progress, and we're trying to be good guys in, extending and in supporting their, level of income, but they need to extend the olive branch to us as well.
So that's what we're gonna do, Colleen. So
mm-hmm,
we do it to April 1st.
okay. And I'll let them know. I'll let
Yeah.
them know that. Okay,
But as Lee says, that they'll know that we're on their mind,
mm-hmm,
or they're on our mind. Hopefully, we're on each other's mind.
okay,
Yeah, there you go.
okay. I think Robert Adair is here.
Okay, then we can do Mr. Adair.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good. We always have someone who's asking for a new installer's permit on the first time to come in and twice.
Yeah.
And, one of the questions are, do you do this for a living, install septic systems?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
How many do you typically put in a year?
On average, I'm a one-man show, so on average, I probably do 4 or 5. You know, some years more, some years less.
Okay. How long have you been doing it?
Oh, I not quite 25 years, probably.
Oh, a few
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Okay. What towns do you typically work in?
I mostly work in Hadley, Sunderland, Amherst sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
I've worked all over. I've worked up in Conway. I've done Deerfield, Hatfield.
Okay. What kind of equipment do you have?
Oh, I got Caterpillar. We got a couple cat excavators, a dozer, track skid steer loader.
Okay. So what do you use to shoot grade?
I got a Topcon. I think it's an RLH5C or something, rotary laser.
Okay. And as you said, you're a one-man show, so you're on the site when you're actually doing the installation.
I do it all.
You do? Okay. What else do you do besides put in these systems? Because I'm guessing you can't make, unless you're a frugal person, you're probably not making a full living on 4 of these a year.
I do, you know, anything to do with earthwork and heavy equipment. I don't like to get into doing a lot of public utility work like water and sewer too much because it's hard to do when you're by yourself. But
Yeah.
foundations, drainage, grading, you know, I have a good handful. I would say maybe at least a half a dozen, probably more general contractors that I do various projects with all the time.
Okay. So moving dirt around is something that you're familiar with.
Yes, sir.
We do ask a question. If you're well, one of the things that in this case, you're at the end of a season. So our guess is you probably have a system that you're thinking of putting in.
Well, I gave a price on one over on West Street for a horse farm, like Casanelli, maybe.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's way out in the back.
Yeah. So the story with that goes that a friend of mine was trying to negotiate to buy the farm, and she was going to try to buy it without them putting the septic system in and then have me put it in, hoping to save some money. But to be honest, the whole deal fell through. But I figured since I was already scheduled to do a meeting and stuff that I might as well talk to you folks and see if I can, you know, get on your good graces.
Sure. The question for you is that let's say you get on the site and you're looking at the drawing, you stick the shovel in the ground and say, oh my Lord, what's in the ground here is what the drawing says. What do you do when that happens?
Usually I'll call the engineer.
Okay.
I've had it happen before. I did a system 2 or 3 years ago in Hadley, and where they did the deep holes in the perk, the sand was only down about 3 or 4 feet, as I recall. And I started in the total opposite corner of the field, and there was clay on top of the sand, and the clay went down 8 feet. So I got down about 4 feet and called the engineer and said, so I'm down 4 feet. I don't know what you're looking for. And he said, well, keep going. And it just happened that that's the way the land fell off. So they perked it in.
In this case, that half of the answer is right. The other half is that you've got a license from the Board of Health to do this. It's not just the engineer that you have to call. You have to get the Board of Health involved. That we approve a design, and if what's in the ground isn't the same, then we have to be involved.
Okay.
And just a way to think about it, if this heads south and you end up in court over a system that's not working right, you really, really want the Board of Health to be a witness for your lawyer, not having the people that are suing you, having their lawyer, having the Board of Health coming in to say, we're the witness to the people that are suing you. And the way you deal with that is to make sure that everybody's on board, everything's above ground, and by having us involved, we make sure we're really, really serious about having septic systems and wells work in a way that they're supposed to, that they don't hurt people's drinking water, they don't hurt the environment. We really, really want them to work right. And so getting us involved at the beginning makes sure that everybody does it the right way, and that keeps everybody out of court. I
Sure.
can guarantee you that's the way, that's the real way you keep out of court, is by making sure it's right and that we all work together.
Yeah.
So, Lee, what is your thought?
No, I agree. Everything, aboard, a lot of communication. Even if it's to tell a bad joke, we have to talk the whole thing through. And we're here to work with you, not to delay you, and we want you to be successful, have a good system, have a happy customer, get referrals, all on the same page.
This one you do have to be really careful on. This is a high water table area, really high water table area, and there's a lot of lead out there. And one of the things that we absolutely have to make sure is that the inlet of the septic tank and the inlet of the pump chamber are above the water table. And I think in Neil Jackson's design, and when we approved it, it says that that tank and the pump chamber cannot go in without first having everybody there to see where the water table is when they put it in, because the code says that you have to be a foot above the water table with the inlet of those two vessels.
Yeah.
So when you get there, this is not a straightforward system. You really, really have to be paying attention. So make sure that we're involved, and the Board of Health has a requirement, you have to get a trench permit from us, and you have the strip has to be witnessed by the board as well as the engineer.
Yeah.
So, but for sure, placing that septic tank is critical. So when you get involved there, the board has to be involved with that placement.
So you guys want to come out and see the tank hole before we set the tank?
On this one for sure.
Yeah.
Or if Neil wants to do it and just look at, without going all the way down to the bottom of it, he wants to just look and see where he's calling water, that's fine, but Lee's gotta be there.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the very least, I would Neil on site for this one.
I don't even think I'm going to wind up doing the job. But like I said, since I already had the meeting and I submitted application, I wanted to go through with it so that I could start to formulate a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Okay.
But is this permit only good till the end of the year?
It is.
Okay. I mean, it's up to you, but I don't know. You're going to spend some dough and maybe 8 weeks later have nothing back on it.
Well,
I would, if you want to do it, I'm not opposed to not working on this permit, not approving it until you want to do it. If you say, gee, I would rather not do it this year if I don't get the job, I'm just not going to ask for this permit.
no, I'm happy to get the permit. And just
okay.
this is when I found out I had to go, I had to have a meeting with the board and stuff, I figured I might as well just do it so that we all know each other and I know what
Okay.
you guys are looking for, and that way we're all, hopefully in the future, we can move forward with, more fluidity.
I'm okay with that. So you're okay, Lee?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Colleen, we're all set.
Okay,
Okay, then have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
I see Lorenzo is here.
Yes, sir.
Um, actually, just before you got on, there was a question that Lee brought up. And he said, gee, I just had to go out on a job and I saw there's somebody working on a system out on Forge Pond.
Yes,
And
sir.
then Colleen said, gee, I wouldn't be surprised that that's Lorenzo's doing it. And so it's I don't know that you have in fact started, but certainly it's a tricky place to be working, and putting a septic system in when you don't have a permit isn't a great way to start, if that's what's happened.
No, I sent my license and my insurance to the homeowner. I'm supposed to be doing this as a favor because I live in Pittsfield, Mass. And I do work for his company here in town. And he was supposed to get all the permits. And when I called the engineer to schedule the site visit, and then the next call was to Colleen, he said, do you have a Granby permit or Granby installer's license? I said, no. Nobody said I needed that. And so that's why I'm here tonight. We had stopped work and got put on this to ask for forgiveness and get a permit and then schedule a site visit.
Okay.
It was,
Okay.
I honestly, he said he had the permits were hanging in the garage, and I was under the assumption that he had everything all set. But it wasn't, and I'm not up there, so I didn't want to go through the permit process because I know what that's like here when I'm not right there.
Okay. So you actually started off thinking you're okay.
Yes, sir.
And once you said I'm not okay,
Yes.
which is, I don't know how you feel, Lee. I guess that's all I could hope for, that someone doesn't just keep
Yeah,
going and say, well, I'll say I'm sorry and catch up later. That's not what happened.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
So-
we're halfway.
So now we'll ask our standard questions. I don't know if you just heard what we just asked for the last guy. What do you do this for a living?
Yes. I do
And-
site work in the South County and Berkshire County, and I do sewer and water throughout Pittsfield and Dalton. We do probably 5 or 6 septic fields a year.
Okay.
Because most of it's
And how
South
long have you
County
been
and up in the hills.
doing this?
At least 25 years.
Okay, so you're not new to this game.
No, sir.
So what kind of equipment do you have?
Like the last guy, I got all CAD equipment.
Okay. So, and when you're doing a job, how involved are you in the actual installation?
100%. It's me and one helper.
Oh, so, okay, so you're definitely a hands-on guy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What do you use to shoot grades?
I have a Topcon and I have 2 lasers because for some reason the battery's always dead.
The peep sights still work without a battery, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know if you heard me. Did you hear me ask the last guy that and it's a question we always ask, is when you're looking at that drawing, and this one could be one that you're working on. when you find out what's in the ground isn't what's on the drawing, what do?
Well, the first thing I did was call the engineer because it's his engineer and I didn't do the perk test. So I did that and he said to notify you guys. So I did. And that's where we're at.
Okay. Here, he was giving the right thing. He's probably heard the story before. But in your case, you shouldn't wait for the engineer to say that, to call the Board of Health, because when you look at the way this thing goes, is the Board of Health, you have the license to put this in, the Board of Health is given the permit that you end up with. So the contract really, the contract with the state and the regulation actually comes through the Board of Health and you. Even though the engineer has the design, you're the guy that says, I can read those designs and I can put this in the way that design is there. When the design is not right compared to the property, the Board of Health is not looking at the engineer first, they're looking at you. And so you definitely want the Board of Health to be on your side saying, yeah, there's a problem here. We're the ones that, we're looking out to make sure that the environment is protected and your ultimate client is protected, but we're actually protecting you. And the only way that can work is for you to let us be helping you.
Okay.
So, the thing that I just told the guy before you is really true. That if things don't go right, and the way it doesn't go right is for us not to be all working together to make sure that it's going right. Is that if it ends up in court, you definitely don't want the Board of Health to be saying, gee, we all told Lorenzo if things don't go the way that it says on the drawing, he better have us involved, and he didn't do it. And now, homeowner, your lawyer is going to be saying, Board of Health, did you tell this guy to do that? And when we say, no, he did this knowing it was wrong, it never, ever goes well after that point.
Okay.
So you don't want that to happen. You want it to say, that didn't happen. We were all together to make it right.
All right.
So anyway, Lee, what did you have for questions?
Just one quick one. Is this a BioClear system that's being installed up there?
It's the nitrogen injected bio something. Yes. I don't have the paper in front of me. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But
It's a nitrogen system. I don't think it was a bio. It was a nitrogen, some tank from Mass Synogen, something
Might have
tank.
been that way.
So
The plans are in my truck. I apologize.
no, it's okay. It's okay. Have you done a couple of these before, or does the company have to show up and walk you through it? How do we know, or how do you know that?
I've never done this system, and the only thing that I have to do other than dig a hole for the tank is set the field. And
Yeah.
the field's easy. It's pitch, stone, and pipe. The tank is all getting done by MES, I believe it was, Synogen. Oh, I get to check.
So the company that whatever represents the system itself will show up and do the work.
Yes, he came out when the tank showed up, because we dug the tank and then went to call the engineer when we went to dig the field because there was a problem, and he said to get a hold of you guys. So,
Okay.
the tank isn't finished; just the tank is in. It still needs electric and pump, and the house isn't anywhere near framing, but all the components are there. All the tank after the tank and the spinner and recycler and all that.
I saw that.
I don't know much about that except for what he was teaching me in the field.
Okay. So, Dick, maybe unrelated question, does this other company need to get an installer's permit? wherever these guys are.
Yeah, if they're installing systems,
He's just doing the components in the tank though. That's not really the system, is it?
yeah, but we're we're
I don't know.
already in a spot that
Ah,
you've already said, Lorenzo, oh, I'm only doing this part. Well,
gotcha.
the guts of this thing are the tank, and it's the nitrogen processing. It's instead of a septic tank, so it's a magic box.
Right.
And
Well,
I think Lee is
I mean,
right.
here-
We've got a magic box that we have no idea whether the person that's installing it knows anything about it. We don't know anything.
I guess he's one of the
Yeah,
only ones in the state. Let me grab his name real quick, and it's right here, and I'll let you know, and you probably know if he's got it.
well, here's the thing. If his part of the installation goes south and he doesn't have the permit, but you do, you're gonna be on the hook.
I got you. It's Sigmund Environmental. Are they on your roster?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Nope. No. So,
I mean,
again,
maybe
like
you can
said,
give,
we need to
maybe you can
protect
give
you.
Alan Weiss a call and ask Alan to call the owner, because Alan's the one that specified this thing.
Yeah,
And Alan's drawing doesn't say that there's a third party involved to install this setup. That's what, because otherwise Lee wouldn't have this question.
Gotcha. The tank comes from him, and he just shows up in the field to add his components to it.
Yeah. Were you the one that set the tank?
Nope, the underground supply set the tank.
Yeah. So
Out of
we don't
Hatfield.
know that we don't, Lee, you don't even know that it's set on the crushed stone.
there should be a foot of compacted stone under that tank. I got
Yes.
obviously zero idea. Because it's buried with sand all the way up.
So you don't know anything about this thing.
No,
So
Yeah.
Colleen, if you can
Yeah.
do that, so in terms of Lorenzo, I'm okay with you, Lorenzo, but I can see right now that you should be, at this point, you should be concerned saying, putting this tank in. I'm putting the septic system in. You're at least from our standpoint, you're the one that's got the license to install this septic system. And so you should be careful, and we're gonna help. Here's the case where we're gonna help you not be holding a bag, that we're gonna make sure that this is right. And so it's a perfect example of how we can work together to make sure nobody gets in trouble.
All right.
So Colleen, can you see if you can open that door with Alan and see
Yeah,
if we can, because Alan's the one that was dealing with the owner. When the owner was involved, and it's Alan's design.
right.
And, we went through a lot on this one
Yeah.
about what was happening. So,
Absolutely. So the
So we
other company here that's doing work out there needs an installers.
yeah, and Alan probably has to understand what's going on with his system that he specified.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'll call him.
yeah, because otherwise, if like I said earlier, if something goes south here
Mm,
and everybody's gonna get all excited and nervous and call their lawyers, you're the guy with the installer's permit, and you will have nothing to do with the part that broke.
Yeah, and it's in
So
a,
you-
it's
you
in a
could-
spot, Lorenzo,
He's
that
got
we're
a
right next
contract.
to the.
Right on at the thing, it says he's under contract with him on that tank. They're responsible for the tank.
Yeah,
With
I mean,
underground
they're
supply.
responsible for all its components for whatever. I don't remember what it said on the drawings, but there's
yeah,
stuff on there and a some sort of a contract where he has to come out and fix it and clean it every year? A maintenance agreement.
Yeah.
There was a
right.
maintenance agreement with this tank.
Mhm.
Yeah. But the problem we've got right now is that he doesn't have a license to put it in. You have the license to put it in. So, again, let's deal with it right now. We're right near the water. It's a tickless situation that let's just make sure this is a perfect time to make sure everything is nice and tied up and it's going to work nicely and we keep everybody out of trouble by making sure we have a really good system.
Okay.
So let's so Lee, are you okay with granting this license? But again, Lorenzo, don't go away saying, oh, don't worry, the Board of Health took care of this. You need to know this is all straightened out because it's gonna come back to be not nice if we don't straighten it out. So let's make sure we do this right.
Okay. Can we go back on site and start getting ready for an inspection?
What is
Inspect
Lee?
what?
How can you do an inspection when we don't have a guy that we don't know anything yet?
The field, though? Can we
Yeah.
start on the field?
Um,
You gotta
first
do-
thing then, I was there Saturday afternoon. I saw what I saw, which is why I'm talking about it with you now, which is okay. So if that's what I'm guessing, so subgrade, is that, what's the next thing? Is it Title V sand that goes in there or
It was
something
supposed to be
different?
Title V sand there and scarify it, and there isn't. And that's what I was trying to address with Weiss, and he said to contact you guys.
Huh?
Okay,
I-
so-
all right, so we gotta get Alan, everybody has to start talking with each other because there's 4 players here. 2 are, me, which doesn't, amount to much. Alan's the engineer, you're the installer from the other end of the state, I get it. And then we have this other company which doesn't have a permit to do any work in town, but they've already been in town doing work. I have no idea what's underneath any of the components up there. I don't know what the depth to rock is, if there is rock. I'm completely in the dark here because I wasn't brought in at all. I went there because the neighbors asked me
Lorenzo, what is it, just while we're all here? What is it when you dug that hole that you found that surprised you?
It's beautiful gravel, 4-inch minus gravel, or what I would call gravel. It's 4-inch minus stone and sand, but there's no infiltrators and there's no sand there. And it said it had to have a minimum of a foot of sand, so obviously we got to bring a foot of sand in, but that's what it says right in the plans. But the old field isn't there. There was a tank there, but there's no field. And there was a pipe coming out of the tank.
Well, they weren't gonna reuse the field anyway.
No.
So it has to be stripped. There's elevations. I know there's elevations that are
Yep.
on that drawing.
Yep.
So it looks like you end up needing to do the strip and then figure out what it takes to get the elevations right. But at least you haven't gone down and said, gee, there's supposed to be sand and gravel here and it's clay.
Right. No, it's beautiful gravel. Like I said, I call it gravel. It's 4-inch minus gravel there.
Yeah. So it sounds, Lee, is it at this point, it seems to me that the proper thing is to have a job meeting with the engineer, the 2 installers, you, Lee, and say, hey, guys, let's stop. Let's look at what we're doing and what has to be done. Who's responsible for what permits are needed. Get everything with everybody standing there instead of having 4 people from different parts of 2 people from around here, 2 people far away, 1 person needing the license that doesn't, another person with the license saying, gee, what's in the ground isn't what I'm supposed to be getting. This is smacks of, boy, trouble's coming. Is that what you're thinking, Lee? Have everybody stand there at the same time and talk to each other?
Yeah, at this point, we gotta become, at least talking friends, because otherwise the left hand can't possibly know what the right hand is, because there's 4 players here. And it's a brand new system for me, for sure. I think it's a brand new system for you as the installer. Alan, I got no idea. Company man, I'm sure, has got a handle on it. But you know, when there's a new system, new technology, and possibly, unless Alan's done one, 3 out of the 4 players don't know what the heck is going on, then obviously there's some room for some error could occur pretty easily here.
In a spot besides that, Lee, that there's a tiny little spot that this can go in an extremely environmentally sensitive area. So it's like you've got a huge chance for error in a spot that can't tolerate any error.
Well, correct. You're on that island surrounded by, you know, water on probably 80% around, except for the road in. Yeah, there is some room for problems there.
Yeah. And on top of that, the well had problems.
Right from the get-go.
So anyway, it sounds like that's what needs to be done. Who is the one that's taking the lead here? It sounds to me like this isn't a Board of Health take the lead spot. This is an installation problem. And at this point, Lee, my feeling would be Alan has the design that he submitted to us, and he says he's got to be the guy that does the first sign off. So I think that if Alan has to be the one that Colleen calls up and says, hey, Alan, this thing isn't going in the way it needs to be going in. You're the engineer, you're the guy, it's your design, and we're going to stop it from going in until this is straightened out. Everybody stops until this gets straightened out. And Alan is the spearhead to get it going again. That's what I would look at, Lee.
Okay. Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
The Board of Health isn't the project manager here.
No.
It's the guy with the design. You've got an installer that's saying, one installer saying, well, this isn't mine, and that's mine, and the ground isn't what it's supposed to be. It's exact, and Alan saying, call the Board of Health. Well, it's Alan that needs to say, okay, you step up to the plate, Alan, and what's supposed to happen at this point? But the way you stop it from happening, going even further south, is to say there's not going to be an inspection of the bottom now.
No, he said I had a call. I'm sorry, excuse me. He said I had a call to get the installer's permit through Granby. You had to have a special. That's what he wanted me to get.
You've got that.
I do now?
You've got that.
Okay.
But you can't go any further because you have to have a bottom inspection, and that hasn't been done, and it's not going to get done until we get Alan involved to get this straightened out. So that's how we put the brakes on.
Can I contact Alan and set up a meeting?
Anybody, absolutely.
Okay, I will.
Absolutely. In fact, you can call them and say, the Board of Health act like idiots. They just stopped us. That's okay. That's okay.
And once he gets on board, then we can get a green light again? Once he gets on board and you guys are happy, everything's good, we can get another, or do we have to wait till next month's meeting?
Oh, no, we don't have to
No,
wait.
no.
Okay.
You got your license and,
Well, what
once
about
Lee gets on board, we're all set.
Okay.
if the other people need need an installer's license?
Oh.
No. They'd have to
Good point,
talk to
Tom.
you.
Yep, you're right. So we're 2 weeks out. I
Unless,
mean, well,
unless they install it, they can install it on Lorenzo's license.
yeah,
With me supervising.
Yeah, where you say, okay, this part of it is just putting a tank in the ground. I'm capable of putting a tank in the ground and making sure that the crushed stone is underneath it. Maybe Alan signs off on that if it's there. Maybe it's not there.
It's
We
there.
don't know that.
I have pictures of it. There's definitely stone there. 100%.
it's already,
The
it's
tank's
already
already
in
in
the
the ground and backfilled.
So it is, as long as you've got the license, Lorenzo, and that they're putting it in under, as you're the guy, then we can do it. If you're not the guy that's installing the system, then whoever needs to install it's got to come and talk to us the same way that we're talking.
Okay. I will get a hold of Alan and be back in contact with Colleen, or Alan will.
Lee, is that the way you see it?
yeah, we can't, at this point, if I didn't get phone call, we would have just granted the permit, not knowing that, this whole thing is somewhat of a,
Right.
well-intentioned,
I called
poorly managed.
for the inspection. Sorry. That's why when I talked to Alan, that's how I found out.
Yeah. And you know, and we're trying to work very hard to keep the job going and keep you out of trouble and make sure the homeowner gets what they think they're getting. And working on that site, on that pond, is a potential mess. And we're already starting out upside down and backwards here. It's not good.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not criticizing you for working and doing what you thought was right. I get it. But it seems like you have a lot of exposure professionally when other companies are supposed to be doing things that none of us has ever worked with before, and they have no permits. And I'm sure they're professional. They know what they're doing. They've done a million of these things, and they all work. But every once in a while, it doesn't work. And on an island on water with the DEP being what it is, and environmental concerns and fines and fees and crap, nobody needs it.
Lee, quite frankly, you don't, where you say you're sure, I'm not sure. You may find out that this company says, gee, we're a manufacturer's rep and this is the first one we ever did.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Don't know
Yeah,
that.
I mean, no one knows anything about this, which is why it's so problematic.
Yeah.
This may not be done by Halloween.
So anyway, that's where we're going. And so it sounds like Lorenzo is going to call Alan and say,
Yep.
it just hit the fan tonight. That's for sure.
I have a question for you guys then real quick. If you still have time.
Yep. Yep, of course.
The field isn't in question with an installer and a permit. Can we do from D-box out and then just wait? That way I can get the ground cleared up and grass going and not have any impact to that water? Obviously, we have to have a site visit from Alan, but can we do the field?
What I think we're doing, again, we said Alan needs to be there. We have to know who's doing what, who's responsible. It needs to have that,
Okay.
that
No, I meant that
visit.
first.
And,
That
and
first.
for, and if Alan, from my standpoint, if Alan is standing there and said, the ground is exactly what's supposed to be, here's what we have to do to make it so it fits my design, this is what happens, then, and it can be done without affecting the whole rest of the system, then Lee, it's up to you. My feeling would be, yeah, if the engineer says that's what you do, and we're all set, that part can go, and you're gonna handle the rest of it in a certain way. You're gonna have an issue with it. But right now, we've got nobody in charge again. And that's what we have to establish first. And nothing gets,
And, pardon me, my other concern is one of lack of knowledge. If Alan has never done one of these systems, he can't possibly know. And maybe it's a straight leak, maybe it's a straight field. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a special fill they need, a special fabric, a special pipe, I don't know, on a pressure dose. I have no clue.
No, it's not even a manifold. It's just stone and pipe, perforated
That's all.
STR, 2 rows of perforated STR, 6 feet apart, and stone and pipe on 1 foot of
So-
sand with 6 inches. It's a typical stone. Well, it's not a trench, but it's a typical sandstone perforated pipe field. It's only 2 rows.
we
So
are not doing, this is the wrong thing to be doing right now.
gotcha.
Because
No,
what
no, he
we're
was
doing
just
is
asking
we're-
if the field was
we're picking
different.
it up-
It's pretty
We're
standard.
picking it apart, and we're, instead of saying, we've got a system problem here, we've got a control problem of who's in charge, we've got pieces, and the thing we can't do is allow this to go in piece by piece. If we do, you can bet your life we're gonna be in trouble. So what we're saying is the first, even though it's inconvenient for you, Lorenzo, it won't be inconvenient if it's your license and this thing doesn't work. It's gonna be really inconvenient. But in this case, Lee, the board is saying, we're not gonna look in that hole. You can't do anything in the hole until the engineer gets involved.
That's fine. I'll give Alan a call tomorrow morning and I'll contact Colleen if that's okay. After I talk to Alan
Yeah.
and see what we can set up.
Yeah, and then Alan, of course, needs to reach out to, as you know, reach out to who this firm, and we need to clarify what they do, if they physically add something or do some work or do something. If they're just there as a consultant, I don't know if that means they need an installer's permit, but if they touch the ground at all, which it sounds like they have, if they set the tank with underground supply, then that's, in my way of thinking, that means they need an installer's permit. They are physically doing work on that system, mechanical or whatever you want to call it, work on that system. And they have no license to do anything in this town. So there's we have a decent amount of ground we have to cover in the future. It's not impossible, but it's got to get done.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, we've spent a long time on this one.
Sorry.
Yep.
And, okay.
No,
Okay.
at least we've cleared the air. We all know what's going on, which right now is going to be nothing. And then we got to put the fix to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be in contact with
And
Alan.
maybe in the future you'll be the buyer guy of you know the northwest part of the state, and you'll be a millionaire, and you won't have to worry about it.
You guys are an hour and 40 minutes away. I was only doing a favor. Really, this is not.
No, and that, you
This
know,
is not lucrative
that-
for me. This was just help.
That's, I know, and that's sometimes it's a problem when we've got people doing favors and not, well, anyways, we're now a half an hour behind schedule,
Okay.
and,
Thank you, sir. I'll
Okay,
be in
good
touch.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where'd the
Once
night go,
again-
Colleen?
Well, when we look at it though, I don't go with just innocent, because we just granted a permit for someone that apparently didn't know that you needed a license to install a septic system in a town. And
I can't,
people dealing with
can't,
Title V know that.
how
So
can somebody in this business not know they need to get a permit where they work?
that's what my concern is, that tells you that maybe the person isn't as experienced as we think. So,
Yeah.
or, you know, it could be that they always work as a subcontractor and doesn't, but that's back to not having the experience that we think.
Yeah, good point. Good comment.
So,
But it also says, keep your eyes wide open, because that person doesn't really know how it works. So
Doesn't sound like
now,
it.
we have Mr. Derby, who's patiently sitting there waiting for his 7:65 appointment.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Lee, this is actually, I asked Colleen to have Mr. Derby come in because I suggested to Colleen found out that Northampton doesn't have any regulations for this kind of operation. And
Okay.
what I asked Colleen is to have Mr. Derby come in and have him help us protect him.
Mhm.
And so you are going to, in your business, you're going to be touching people's bodies
Yes.
with different materials, maybe. I think it could be hands, it could be towels, it could be stones. I know nothing really about your business.
Sure.
And I'm assuming that even though it sounds kind of like acupuncture, you're not going to be sticking things into people.
No sticking people with anything.
Right. So when I talked to Colleen, I said, let's assume that is the case. That because if you were, I'm guessing people would have all sorts of regulations about what you could do to them. So
Right.
so given that, I said, you know what? Let's just start off being stupid and saying we think this business is to put hot stones on people's back. And I said, if that's the case, what kind of things would you be concerned with? And I said, I would be concerned if the place was dirty. I'd be concerned if my stones were so hot they were going to burn me. I'd be so concerned if they were so heavy they were going to crush me. I would be, and I said, those are just if they were stones. And I'd be concerned about how did it heat them up? Who did they lay on before they laid on me?
Mhm.
What do you do to clean the stones up? And again, I don't even know if you're using stones. But I said, for sure, Mr. Derby knows what he's doing. And for sure, Mr. Derby knows what he has to do to not hurt people and not get people sick.
Mm.
And if we had Mr. Derby come in, he could be saying, you know what? These are the things you should tell me I should be careful for. That you should be, whatever, if you're using towels that you're putting on people, that they're
Mhm.
going to be fresh towels and clean.
Mhm.
Or whatever it is, you know what you need to do
Mm.
to do it right. And you also know what you could do to do it wrong, or people that were in competition with you to save money, what they could do to make people sick, to make people get ringworm from the last person that used the dirty towel.
Mm,
And I just use that for an example. But so that's why I asked you to come in. And
Sure.
it had nothing to do with Bill or Lee. And I'm sure that Lee runs a pharmacy, owns a pharmacy and runs it. I'm sure that if I said, hey, Lee, you came in and someone was doing something, can you do anything to hurt people? Lee has the potential to kill people. But so there's things that the government makes sure that he's not killing people.
Mm,
But so what can you tell us about what you need to do and what we need to be telling you need to be doing?
sure. Well, all of the things you brought up were, you know, great examples. And
I don't know what you do. Remember, I don't know what you do.
right. Well, I mean, in my email, I think you may have gotten my email. I hope you did. It basically gave a brief description of the business and sort of a description of what acupressure actually is. And so, but yeah, exactly what you said is cleanliness is the number one key thing in this type of business, because yes, we are touching people's bodies. And acupressure is basically applying pressure to pressure points on people's bodies. And yes, we do indeed use hot stones, and they are actual stones, but they're not big or heavy stones. The stones themselves are about 4 inches by 4 inches, or 4 inches long by maybe 2 inches wide. And we heat them in special, essentially microwaves. They're heating microwaves, specifically designed to heat up stones and also towels. But so let's say you come into the business to get an acupressure appointment, you would come in, you would have a sheet over your body, and all of the sheets we use fresh sheets for every single customer. Every towel we use is fresh towels for every single customer. At the end of the day, all of the sheets and towels are washed. Yeah, I mean, the cleanliness is the key important thing in this business.
When you go, I'm gonna interrupt you because
Sure.
I'm a process guy.
Yeah.
And so when I look at and I drive people crazy because I don't let people get away with saying I washed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because washing doesn't tell me what did you wash it with, what was the temperature you washed it with, what was the test to make sure it was clean, what were you, whether you're using soap, whether you're using disinfectant, was the soap an anti-allergenic soap? Did the stone touch anything? How did you clean the stone? How do you hold the stone? How did you wash your hands? And what did you wash your hands with? So when you start looking and say, gee, this guy's crazy. He's telling me all this stuff. And I said, well, I'm not, because it doesn't say, how did you dry it? How did you store it? Who touched it? Did you lay it on the floor? It's saying when you talk about cleanliness, it kind of is the same way that you look at almost like a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
and say, yeah, we can have a clean restaurant, but how do you store it? Where do you store it? Do you store it next to an open window? Do you store it laying on the floor? So all of these, do you bleach it? What are there colors? How do you tell when your towel and sheet is worn out? What is your spec on the original sheet? What is the material of the sheet? It's like this thing is millions of little things that you say, oh my God, this is crazy stuff.
Right,
But
right.
it's not crazy stuff. It's the thing that that stops you from finding out that you know, and how do you tell when someone's, you know, reacting negatively to what you're doing, or that, you know, that's your training part. But
Hmm.
in terms of how do you tell who's working there? What kind of training is there if something's happening? Do you have a protocol to all sorts of things to that? What happens if your lights go out while people are in there? What happens? Who when your microwave? Who checks your microwave for whether it's working right? How do you know what the temperature of the stone is? How do you know what the temperature of the towel is? And
Hmm.
so when you look at all of those things, to say, I need to know that and have it written down so
Hmm.
that the next whoever's working for you, and then when you have people working for you, who can work for you that is certified or not certified, or are you supervising or not? Are you directly supervising? Uh, it's a, it's just as as I'm looking at it, is just to say that hey, I'm going to have some discipline to how I run my business.
Hmm.
Do you touch people with bare hands? Do you wash your hands after you touch people? Do you wash people before you touch them? Do you, you know, and what do you use to wash your hands? And
Sure.
are your hands dry? And what do you do with what you use to wash your hands and wipe your hands?
Hmm.
And look and say, this crazy thing. This is more than I ever believed. But when you walk through it and say, what is it that I'm doing? And having the discipline to say, there's a process to this thing. There's a way to do it right, and there's a way to do it wrong.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, well, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot, but that's good. That's good. You know, I mean, that's all those questions are good, and certainly for us, we try to do everything right. And in terms of like washing hands, of course, we wash our hands before touching anybody and after touching anybody. We all of the products, cleaning products we use are hypoallergenic, nothing with chemicals, harsh chemicals, organic whenever we can. To answer your question for heating up the stones, that specific like little microwave oven, luckily it's easy for us. It has a button that's specifically for heating the stones up. And for cleaning the stones, we boil them in water with a very light detergent. And anything after we clean our hands, we don't wipe them with regular towels. We use paper towels and then throw them in the garbage. So we're not you getting germs on towels and reusing those. But yeah, again, any sheets or towels, they're always fresh for every new customer. And when we wash them at the end of the day, again, we use non-hypoallergenic, you know, very light chemical detergents when we use them in the washing machine and dryer. And we, in terms of storing the stones, they're stored in the plastic boxes, um, um, in cabinets.
In my case, you don't have to explain all the things to me.
Sure,
What
sure.
I'm asking, and I don't know, unfortunately, Bill isn't here tonight, and Lee is here. Maybe Lee, you think I'm way off pace, but I guess what I would be looking for is something for you to describe what you're doing, describe the process that you're doing, so we could measure. If we sent in our health inspector and said, okay, she went in and said, okay, I'm going to look and see if these guys are actually following what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I look and say, oh yeah, we boiled these stones in soap or whatever it is you boil,
Sure.
and say, well, how did we rinse it off, and what did we rinse it off, and how long after I boiled them, and they went, let's say you really literally boiled them, so
Mm-hmm.
they went up to, since there's some soap in there, it's going to boil at higher than 212 degrees. So let's say it boils at 225 degrees because you've got some stuff in there. And so then you would use some tongs or whatever
Yes.
and say, and somebody says, oh yeah, but I only boil 10 stones before I throw the water away because the stones got oil all over them and there's oil all over the top of the water. And I don't want, when I lift the stone out, I don't want the oil going all over the stone. And then the stone is 225 degrees. I can't possibly hold it. What am I holding the stone and where do I put it? And how hot is it, to reuse it? So I would be looking to say, have the discipline to say, this is the thing we're going to do. Here are the things we're doing in here.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone were to come in and say, hey, are you following the procedures you said you were following?
Mm-hmm.
And they look and said, they're doing exactly what they say. And we say, that's fine. That's exactly what everybody says is supposed to happen here.
Sure.
And once again, we're not telling you how to do your business. What we're doing is having you tell us how you use your business.
Right.
And then we can say, are you really doing what you said you were going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem reasonable to ask you to do?
That makes
Let us
sense.
expect to see if you're doing what you said you were going to do.
Sure.
And you can say that yeah, I do have a nice little 12-year-old daughter that comes in here on Saturdays to help me. And she does this for me too. And they say, oh no, we can't do that. She wasn't trained. It's only trained people. My
Right.
little 12-year-old daughter doesn't fit with this.
Yeah.
But you would be telling us that it's only licensed people that touch people or
Yeah.
whatever it is, it seems like you ought to be able to say, this is my little business model and this is how I'm going to run it.
Uh-huh.
And it may not be very complicated. It might be very complicated. I don't know. You're the one that says, that actually not every idiot can do this. You really have to understand what you're doing.
Sure.
And there's this part that says, I need to be certified by this organization and because we don't know the certification either. It could be that when you choose it, if it were me, I would be saying, I'm really good at this and I want to get certified by a very high standard. I don't want to end up being in the same league as a person that spends 4 hours on the internet
Mm-hmm.
and gets and does a test at the end of the 4 hours and use my own printer to get a certification and away I go and say, gee, now I'm in competition with a whole bunch of people that don't have any kind of physiology training because it might be very important that you shouldn't be putting these hot stones on people's foreheads. I don't know that.
Yeah, they're not put on people's foreheads, no.
No, but I don't know that, and maybe the guy that does it takes the 4-hour course doesn't know that either.
Uh-huh.
So that's why that's what I would be looking for. But for what it's worth, I'm trying to keep you out of the town. I'm not happy to have you in the town. I'm that part. It's fine. I just, as a Board of Health member, I don't want you to hurt people.
Yep.
And I want you to be successful. But believe it or not, I want you to be successful. And so that just as you heard us talk about the septic tank guy, it's the same thing. That the way we all keep out of trouble is by letting each other help each other.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
To say, yeah, this is where we could really get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lee, what are your thoughts? I'm doing a lot of talking here, and not necessarily.
No. I mean, is
speaking
this,
from the
is
Board
this
from the Board of
something
Health.
that the State Department of Public Health has a I don't know, a educational requirement or a permit that you have to renew every year or two with continuing education, or I don't understand, how you enter the field, and who, if anyone, do you have to theoretically answer to?
Yeah, so if also in my email I sent the certification, which was acquired in July of this year. You have to be
Okay.
a practitioner for 2 years before you can get this certification.
Okay.
And the certification expires in 2029, so it's renewed every 5 years.
Okay. Okay. And this is something from the state?
Yes.
Okay. And that being said, does then the state require, or does the state invoke a random inspection process or something of that nature to make everybody toe the mark at all times?
They're supposed to be, yes. The person I spoke with on the phone said that they do occasionally do random check-ins.
Yep.
But I have other friends that have similar businesses and have been running for, let's say, maybe 3 years now, and have never had a check-in, at least not yet. So
Yeah, I get it.
So what, you know,
Yeah.
how often they're supposed to do them and how often they actually do them, I'm not quite sure. I think maybe bigger businesses are probably checked in on a big, you know, more regular basis. A smaller business with only 1 or 2 practitioners working maybe aren't checked in on as regularly, but certainly they want you to fill out paperwork and show that you are certified.
Okay, but in theory, the idea, I'm guessing, or from what I'm hearing, is that, among other things, you or someone in your position would have to strive on a regular basis to keep the standards up and going at all times, in the event that somebody does knock on your door at Tuesday morning at 11:15 and do a full system inspection, which may or may not result in a termination or suspension.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I expect that there's some things that we would require from a safety standpoint, some trackability that says you need to say who was in there. We don't have to know, I don't think, who they are, but if something happened and there was a disease spread because of something that was happening inside your operation, we would really need you to be saying, yeah, this person was here on this date and for this time, that we've got some trackability that we know who was in here, and we can trace it down. That there's something like, in our waiting room, do we have anything in there to stop disease from COVID from being spread? Are there, that it would be that kind of thing that we're going to think about our business and how we're going to run it, how we're going to be, you know, how different are we from a doctor's office or whatever you're doing, some other kind of similar operation, and say, yeah, this is how we're going to do this, and this is where we're going to store, this is the kinds of towels, this is the kind where we're going to store, this is how many we're going to have, this is I have no idea whether you want people to have clean bodies before you work on them, or you know, do or don't, or clean clothes or dirty clothes, or lots of clothes or no clothes, or whatever.
Sure.
You don't know, but you do.
Yeah.
You do, and then just say, is there a changing room? Is there something that and then there's that part that says we don't want to have, and I'm not saying you're going to have it at all. I don't even think maybe that, but we certainly don't want to say, you know, this is kind of a massage thing that's moved over into a sex operation.
Okay.
And to say, how do you ensure that that's not what's going to happen? That this is not a massage parlor that per se, and I have no doubt that that's not what I have to say, the right way. I have no doubt that you are in fact not trying to do that.
Right.
I absolutely feel 100% comfortable that you're not here because that's what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely comfortable with that. However, that we would say that that part of this whole thing is to say that, we're going to run it in a way that doesn't make that like conducive, or for the public to say that's what we really think is happening.
Right. Sure.
That this is definitely a legitimate business, and I truly believe that. You wouldn't be here if that's not what you're trying to be doing.
Yes. Yes.
So, but anyway, that's what I would expect. That
Mm-hmm.
that you're basically going to say this is our way we're going to operate.
Yeah.
And you probably would say this is how our building's going to be laid out, like a restaurant does it, and say this is we're going to have changing rooms, or we're going to have showers or no showers, or I'm not telling you what to do, but
Right.
how you know. I have no doubt that you know exactly how you want this thing to look and run, and that's how you're gonna handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lee, do you think that that's reasonable to ask for that?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
and we
I
would
mean-
be asking a restaurant the same kind of thing.
Okay, so
know-
what you want from me essentially is to maybe like write something up with just a little bit more detail about the layout of the space, exactly kind of a step-by-step process of what we're doing, where we're storing things, what kind of washing materials we use, kind of essentially stuff like that.
Yeah, and you would have it. You would have a layout that says this is the how this place is going to be set up. This is where we're storing stuff. Here's with our washing machine, or the type of washing machine, or whatever you're going to, or a dryer, whatever you're going to do to say this is how we're going to operate this place,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to make it that whatever the soap isn't stored next to the stones, or as you said, you're keeping things separate, that the towels aren't laying on the floor, and that when you done with the towels, this is how you're gonna put them in this container, and so
Sure.
it's not gonna be a big pile, and basically to say this is our place, we're getting ready now. This is our physical environment. Here's how we're gonna run it, and so here's the physical space. Here's the way we're gonna operate. And so if you walk, the good way to think about it is to say, if I walked out of that room, I wasn't the one that's there, I would know that whoever is left in there to be running my business would be doing this.
Yeah.
And I'd be able to do it because I'm going to have to train someone to do it. So if I'm going to have to train someone to do it, I should be able to write down what I'm going to train him on. And so you would be able to look and say, yeah, that you're doing exactly what I want done. So it really is the discipline of saying, I've got a service business right here. Here's the service that I'm providing. So you describe the service, and then you say, well, here's the backup for this to make sure that I do the same thing every day, that everybody, whoever comes in here, gets exactly the same service with exactly the same, materials that are the towels or whatever, and whether you say people aren't going to be walking into my nice room where people are going to lay on my table, whatever the table is, and say they're going to be laying on this table, and there's going to be this covering on this table, and they're not going to walk in here in the wintertime with rubber boots that are all mud, and they're going to be right next to the table, so that you'll say they're going to prepare for this thing. They're actually going to put on, in this little changing room, they're going to put on these booties that that they wear into my nice, clean, procedure kind of room.
Sure.
But
Sure.
that you just go through and say, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, and my technicians are going to be using rubber gloves, and they're not going to be latex rubber gloves unless I ask my patients if they're allergic to latex, and just all those things that say, okay, I've got my nice little package, and we don't find out, I've got 52 people that were here last week that all got a rash because of that gloves.
Okay. Yeah, we wouldn't want that. No.
And so that's what I'm interested in, is just make sure to say, this is a serious business, and we're gonna deal with it that way.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'm happy to do that. I mean, how would you like me to proceed? Do you want me to try to write something up?
I would like to see that and say, yeah, we've got a thing we're gonna. Well, I think before we do this deal, because that's some work to do. I think Lee, unfortunately, Bill isn't here. Are we going to allow this in our town? This is not a nice thing to do, to have somebody go through all of this, and then when it's all done, say, after all, we don't like that stuff in this town. And so it doesn't matter.
Well,
no matter how high you jump, you're never gonna get high enough.
Right. I mean, the fact that it's a state certified program, the state monitors and inspects, and that we're going to get a thumbnail sketch of the operation in some detail. And maybe Lynn will occasionally set up a time to take a look around based upon possibly there's something in mastering a law about the minimum standards. No, I'm fairly confident that going forward will not be a bad thing for anybody, patient and or business owner.
If I look at it,
I mean, we don't
don't
need we don't need a something the size of War and Peace in literature to to know what's going on. But we're not trying to get the details and set up a couple of shops to compete with it. We just want to know that if somebody, make pretend down the road, voices a complaint about blah, 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 and we have a reference to what that complaint is, we can talk in some intelligence about what did or didn't happen, which would be, for me, my perspective, a layer of protection, again, for you and for your client.
Sure.
From my standpoint, Lee, I view it as probably more sensitive than, only marginally and maybe not totally, than a nail operation, but certainly less potential for problem than a tattooing operation. And within the nail operation, you certainly have the problem with a potential of nicking nails and having blood transfer and infections. And this one, not so much you're not having anything with the potential of nicking the body. So if I just look at the sensitivity, it looks like this is not something we should be afraid of, and that we should stop from happening. So it sounds like, in terms of the question is, are we going to make you go through this and then tell you too bad you can't do it? No, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to get an idea of what you're doing, making it so we can say, yeah, we know enough about it that we can go in and inspect and say, yep, you're doing what you said you were gonna do. You're using the same materials you said you're gonna use,
Mhm.
and you're not doing things that are gonna hurt people. And, I know someplace through there, even though your microwave says I press the button, it comes out the way I want. Someplace you're gonna have to say, you know what, I've got a little thermometer that a couple times a day or once a day or whatever, I shoot that. I've got a little infrared thermometer that says, you know, that thing was supposed to be 175 degrees, and that actually did come every time I check it. It's between 170 and 180. It's what it does.
Mhm.
That I checked that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would guess. That if that's your main process element, that you'll be saying, yeah, that's what I want to do. And if you're afraid enough of it, maybe you say, every time I do this, I'm really afraid that I'm either going to give people stones that are too hot or too cold. And just part of every one of my process elements, this little handheld non-contact gun or whatever it is, that you go boop, every time I take these stones out, I'm just going to look and say, yep, they're the right temperature stones.
Sure.
That may be such a simple thing, and say that's paramount to running my business. That stone, having the right temperature stone, is absolutely key to running my business. And I'm going
Yeah.
to make sure I have the right temperature stone.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so it sounds like that's what it is. To come up with saying, I'm going to lay the place out. I'm going to put down what the materials I'm going to have in there, and the important thing is, what are you using for your little microwave? What's your table like? What are you covering your table? What are you doing? You know, the big basic things. At least that you don't need a book that's bigger than the one that Costco runs their operation by.
Sure. Okay. I think that's
So-
all very doable.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
And good luck. And thank you for coming in and spending some time. And sorry you had to wait. But I'll bet you didn't think you were going to spend a half hour talking about what your business was going to do either.
I didn't, but hey, it's good. I'm happy to do it, and nice meeting you all. And I'll try and write something up for you.
Okay. Okay. Have a nice night.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
take care.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We're not done yet. Almost though, huh? We've got only one Title V, Lee. Looks like it's 20 New Ludlow Road. Ken McCool did it and it passed. Looks like it's a reasonably new system with 5 feet separation, 1,500 gallon tank. Is that okay to accept, please?
Yeah, it was a pump system, but yes, yeah.
We've I got two things that are boy, I've got a bunch of things actually. One of them is our temporary event application. Colleen sent out something. She sent first our sheet that she made up, and then she sent what Northampton sent their users. Lee, did you have a chance to look at Northampton?
I haven't. I've been so behind my so-called life. I haven't been checking my email lately.
It's definitely worthwhile. Colleen, when you looked at Northampton, it's pretty significant, I guess, huh? Is that the way
Yeah,
you
I
looked
mean,
at it?
yes, they use a mobile food and a temporary permit basically, but they have a lot of information on those applications. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're looking at things. Well, Lee, when you get a chance, if you can look at it, maybe, Colleen, maybe we can stretch it. As it's getting colder, maybe they're not going to have them. So far, we haven't had any events. But
No.
Lee and Bill, maybe Colleen, at the next meeting, we could block some time to look at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll go back
Okay.
into my mail and I probably had a couple thousand I gotta dump, but
I
I'll
can
for sure
send,
read it.
I can send it again, so it'll be more recent for you.
All right, all
Well,
right, thank
I
you.
got two other things that with Chris leaving soon, Chris Martin.
Yeah.
Do you want me, Colleen sent out a thing for Ken Lane and the water. I did go down, it's gotta be more than a month ago, to Ken Lane, and I did go there. I don't know, I think I told you, Lee, I told the board that Dave DeRocher, I had Dave DeRocher come over. And the water, they had paved the street. And there was still a puddle that was actually went from the side, whatever it was, 12 Ken Lanes, is that the one that we're talking about, I think?
Yeah.
And it went from that side, went to the other side, it had a big puddle along the road that wasn't draining. And at the time, Dave DeRocher said, you know, I'll look and see if I can talk to the people that when he knows somebody that puts in irrigation systems for lawns. But it was very obvious that the water coming out of 12 Ken Lane was the place that was causing the flooding. And the flooding is primarily because the street has got this little bump in it and it can't drain the water out. And what I was thinking of doing, and I talked to Dave about it, but everybody seemed non-committal. I think if you look at the service that 12 Ken Lane is providing to the neighborhood, is that house happens to be on a path that water wants to drain from I'll say the east side to the west side of the road. The brook is the receiving body. There are actually two receiving bodies. One is a swamp and a swale that's on the east side that goes to, is that Crescent Street that goes up there? I think so.
Yes.
So
yeah.
at the corner of Crescent Street and Ken Lane, there is a drain that Mike Zabin put in. And then you've got the catch basin on Ken Lane that receives some of the water, but the water that's going basically from east to west goes under the ground through a bunch of those lots and ultimately heads to the brook, and which is on the west side of Ken Lane. So it runs north-south, but on the South Hadley side. So that house at 12 Ken Lane is actually draining in the system around that house, is dropping the water table that protects Gasberry's house. It protects the house, let's say, I'm guessing it's 10 Ken Lane. It protects the two houses that are between Ken Lane and the brook. So that house is lowering the water table in an area that protects the last of that community. And my feeling is that we ought to go to Chris Martin and say, you know, for the sake of a 3-inch polyethylene pipe that's buried 18 inches in the ground that goes from 12 Ken Lane to the catch basin that's 2/3 of the way back to West Street, the town ought to do that because it's protecting the road, it's protecting half a dozen houses, and it doesn't have to go very deep in the ground if you let that person dump their water into it. do you think it's worthwhile for me to try to make that happen, Lee?
Certainly, in lieu of, what it will save, in the neighborhood and the minimal cost involved, to me, it's definitely worth a conversation, especially, while that office is still occupied by Chris Martin.
I will do that, either tomorrow. Yeah, maybe I can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
But I'll get
Right.
that done.
All right. Thank you.
The next one that I don't know that we're gonna do anything about is 126 South Street. That's near the Laflamme Farm. And it's a property that it's an old property, and I think, Lee, that it's maybe next door to the Steve Zabin property. In fact, it may even be the Steve Zabin property. And
All right.
and it's got
Yes.
a water table that was really high, and it's one that passed the Title V, but we said that did not protect the environment because I think it's also got a small old septic tank, and it's basically in the water, or just above the
Yeah.
water. And Colleen got a response back that the person that bought it isn't planning on fixing it for a year, the septic system, and doesn't want to have a mounded system. And I'm thinking maybe we have to wait and talk about it when Bill is here also, because my feeling is we've told them that the system has to be replaced, and that's just not an acceptable answer to say, gee, I bought the house and I'm not going to replace it for a year, and I don't like great systems.
Was this an auction property or something of that nature?
I don't know, Colin. Do you know?
Or a foreclosure?
Mm,
I'm just wondering how they would have purchased a house, if it had a failed Title V. If there's any bank involved, I would have thought
Yeah,
it would
maybe
have
if it
triggered.
was a cash deal, Lee.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the only way I could think it would go without the bank funding it, demanding some repairs be made to protect the bank's investment.
Yeah.
They've
Maybe the best thing is to have the owner talk to us at the next meeting.
Yeah, we can
And
try
see
it.
if we can talk it through and come to an agreement at how we're gonna solve the problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're talking about that they don't want a raised system, given the water table in that area, there doesn't seem to be that will ever get resolved.
No.
So they need to, delaying the repairs for a year is one thing, but they may want to delay the repairs in perpetuity.
Right.
Which is not acceptable, of course.
Right. He talked about, I think the note that Colleen sent said that the guy was saying, can we check the water table again? And absolutely, what we should be telling them is, yes, is absolutely you have to test the water table again, because that's what you need to do to design the new system. But maybe it's worthwhile to rather than send letters that are threatening letters, maybe we can talk the thing through and have the owner understand where the issue is. So, Colleen, if you could go ahead, Lee.
I'm sorry. Is there what's it called? Not grant money, but is there funds currently available, Colleen? Do you have any idea? For low interest loan? you know, for septic.
I think there is,
obviously.
yes, but I don't know what if you have to qualify to get those or,
Neil
Yeah.
Jackson told me there's also grant money that's automatically available through the state.
Okay.
So
I
I
mean,
don't
if it's
know.
a financial thing, there may be some, we may be able to open up a couple doors for this individual.
Oh.
I know there's a
But
few.
certainly, the other issue, of course, is that if the septic is breaching the surface, then we need to be cognizant that the neighbors are not negatively impacted by this property.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that it's not to the surface right now, but it may be that the old system wasn't used. You know, it may
Yeah,
have
that's
been
true, and it's been
very limited use and it's
been very, very
Mhm.
dry. But if it's one person living there, they might get away with it for a while.
right.
But
So maybe
it's
a
still
talk would be a good way to start.
Yep.
Okay. I'll ask him to come to the next meeting.
All right.
Going
Thank
on
you.
these other things that we've got, Dollar General still hasn't got back. I think they will get back. I'm sure they said they would get back, and I'm guessing that the cigarette license is going to get their attention again.
Mhm.
I would think so.
I did get a note from an engineer that wants to work on or started to work on the two fourplexes that are New Ludlow Road, just
Yeah.
east of Morgan Street. And Lee, you
Very
must
high
have
water
gone there.
table.
Yeah, you must have gone there. It's a big load, a big sewage load, and a spot that's right in tucked next to the brook, the Stony Brook. So
Yes.
I'm starting to work with them, but it's not an easy solution.
No, it's a very high water table, and with the number of the amount of paved surface and vehicles to support that much housing, it's extremely limited surface area for an adequate SAS to be designed
Yeah.
and built there.
Yeah, and
For sure, I'm guessing they're going to be looking at some type of alternative technology to fit it in.
well, the one that he's got proposed is a raised system with block around it in back of the system, the house, the unit to the left. And even that one is only 35 feet away from the wetland. And so what I'm trying to do is avoid, if he's in that close, whether he needs a nitrogen system or, but it looks to me that we may be able to pull it further towards the back of the unit. And maybe they may end up having to park some cars, and maybe the parking lot has to be along with the sides of the building. Maybe they have to put, a couple little parking spaces in the front of the building. To free
Yeah.
up, but it's
Right,
not one of the parking areas back. And that space, I think, has to be used. The other thing that causes all sorts of problems is that the code actually says that anything other than a single or two family house has to be a two compartment tank. And then the design for the two compartment tank has to have that the first compartment is a minimum of 2 times the daily flow. And so once you end up with one unit with 8 bedrooms, that's 880 gallons. So 2 times the daily flow of that is, almost 1,800 gallons, which obviously doesn't fit in a 2-compartment tank. Doesn't fit, so they may end up needing sleeping, or maybe they'll end up needing 4 1,500 gallon tanks, 2 for each one. And then they end up needing 2 pumps and a spare water supply. I mean, a spare water supply because they've got city water. So if they lose power, they really do need. It's not like the rest of these things that have wells that if you lose power, you don't have water. These guys have water.
Yeah, they're gonna need a backup
generator.
power supply. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
yeah.
I
So
think on 8 West Street, they did in fact install 2 1,500 gallon tanks.
they did. Colleen looked it up. What happened is we did the septic leach field based on the 220 gallons for the 2 bedrooms plus the 110 gallons for the septic for the kitchen. So we did the 330 for each of the 2-bedroom units for the SAS. But the septic system, we said, no, we'll do that on the 8 bedrooms, which made it that the reason that the 2 tanks, where that was a 2,000 gallon, they actually did their 2 chambers in series. So that the first tank, which was 2,000 gallons, gives the 2 days capacity for the first chamber, and then the second tank is the 1,000 gallon or 1,500, whatever it was. That gives it the second chamber criteria. So that's how they did it. So they got by with 1 tank system as compared with going with 2 single 1,500s, which I think would also work.
Okay, so these tanks were in series then
Right.
on West
Right.
Street. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So there's some work.
But over there on New Ludlow Road, it's going to be quite a different story.
It is. It's hard to do it. So I'm guessing what the solution is going to end up with a 1,500 gallon tank for each side of each unit. So you have 4 1,500s that go into a single 2-pump chamber with backup power and then go to the leach field, but the leach field pulls way in to clear the 50 feet. So, and he's looking at, he wanted to do 4 100-foot lines. And I think I'm gonna tell him, don't do that. That's crazy. Those are so long that instead go into the middle of the system and put your D-box so that you actually have 50-foot lines going on it out of each side.
Yeah, left and right. Yep.
Yeah. So there's some that's coming. And I haven't heard anything at all from our friends at the wine house.
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing. Because we were hoping, Neil was going to design, this, you were at the meeting.
Yeah.
And I was, because we were promised June. It's 4 months later and we have nothing even on the horizon.
Yeah, that's right.
And at some point in time, I think we have to, well, we don't have to do anything, but maybe we have to consider a some type of limitation on activity or something to stimulate
Yeah.
them to toe the mark.
Yeah.
Because now the tail's wagging the dog.
So, yeah, it's probably time, just the same way well, when Jim came in to us, if you recall, and I think it was May, and he said, "Why are you
Yeah.
calling me in?" Because I was given till June 1st to have this thing all straightened out. And as I said, here's October 1st, and it's not straightened out. And
Yeah, and and I'm not, throwing stones, but we were also reminded that he was committed to doing the right thing.
yeah,
I just
and that's
didn't
how
ask
it
him
is.
if the right
I
thing was-
hope, yeah, it looks to me like a good business for the town. It's a good thing, but it's not a good business to not, if as the business has grown, it really, I guess, from my standpoint, the mistake was to say, gee, you're opening a brick and mortar business, you need a brick and mortar septic system. And running that kind of business out of a Santa can is not the way to do it. That's a lot different than having a tent in the field. And so now the business has grown and grown, and now we're chasing our tail. So,
Well, if push comes to shove, when's the permit expire? January 1st?
yeah, it's something like that. And but maybe we have to do the same thing that we're doing with Dollar General and say
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it appears that us cooperating is not helping them do the right thing. So if we have to force their hand, then they're creating the problem that we have to respond to.
I know it's not like we're causing the problem. It's that we're trying to make them act responsibly. And
Right.
it would be nice to do it that instead of bringing someone to court and having attorneys make money on what doesn't
Well,
get
when
done,
we-
it would be nice to get the
Yeah,
problem
when-
fixed and just get it done and have people act right.
Yeah, us getting scolded in May, one would have thought that after we got scolded because it wasn't June 1st, that they would have taken an opportunity to focus on the promise.
Right.
And we're entering, 4 months plus of zero.
It may in fact be that Jim has worked very hard to try to get Neil to get the system designed. Maybe I don't know that at all, but the bottom line from our standpoint is the system isn't functioning. It's not installed and functioning. And the person that owns it is the person that we go after. And that's the bottom line. So
Yeah,
let's see if we can get that
we have no
done.
other option.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure I'll be talking to Neil for something in the next few days, and I'll ask him, when we can expect to get that from him.
Yeah, because in 7 weeks, we're going to click through January 1, and we're no closer than we were.
Yeah, and then someone's
As
gonna
far
say,
as
oh,
we
this
know,
cross.
as far
Yeah.
as we know. Yeah.
But-
Could be dead
Okay.
wrong. I hope I am.
Okay. I'm gonna shut us off and go to bed.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
All right, good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.